Hello, folks. Welcome to the Crime Dawg podcast. I'm your host, Johnny FIORICA, 30-year retired detective with the Rochester, New York Police Department after serving 30 years. Sitting alongside me, my trusted co-host, David Simpson, also a retired detective after serving 22 plus years with the Rochester Police Department. Folks, we sit before you today with a ton of knowledge and a wealth of experience, but if you want to get to know us a little bit better, check out our bios and see what we did on our website, thecrimedawgpodcast.com, or right here on the YouTube channel at Crime Dawg Podcast. David, welcome to the pod today, brother.
Welcome. I'm wearing my Giuseppe's Original Gates, New York sweatshirt.
By the way, that's sweet. I like that.
Yeah, these are hard to find.
Grew up on Giuseppe's Pizza. Awesome place. So, David, we got first of all, we've been beating this drum for a while relative to the Rochester, New York car break-ins. We talked about it on our live show, shameless plug. That's every Saturday live, noon to 1 on Wham 1180 and iHeartRadio. But anyways, we're talking about these vehicle break-ins for the last couple months. We've been addressing them. We've been talking about them. It seems to be getting worse and worse as time goes on. We got a couple calls. People reached out to us on our social media accounts, text messages, phone calls from not only citizens in the Rochester area, but business people in the Rochester area that have concerns because they're like, holy cow, this is the dead of winter and it's freezing out. What's going to happen when it's warm out in the summertime? The RPD has seen an uptick in vehicle break-ins and criminal mischief. You've seen it on the news media. There was about 50 to 60 of these vehicles that were damaged or broken into during the month of December. My guess is this is going to be higher in the month of January. There was 15 incidents last night alone, David, in the East Ave, Park Ave, University area, specifically the Inn on Broadway. I mean, what is going on?
Well, what's going on is we have idiot Democratic politicians who are in Albany and enacted criminal justice reform to include bail reform. And what that did, again, we beat in this drum, it takes all quality of life crimes that, order maintenance crimes that we would, as police officers, arrest people for, like vandalism, car break-ins, loitering, all that stuff. And there's no teeth. You can't lock anyone up. So when you can't have any consequences for someone's actions, you can't lock people up and be like, I don't really want to spend a night in jail. When you hand them a ticket and say, go break into another car, they're laughing at us. They're laughing at the politicians and their stupidity in making these laws. So that's all that's going on right now is these kids are bored and, you're going to see a lot of crossover between the car break-in guys and the Kia guys. They're just laughing. They're just creating mayhem and chaos because they can and because no one's going to stop them. And the police can't because the politicians castrated them.
Yeah, to piggyback on what you're talking about, criminal justice reform came out in 2020. The bail reform, the raise the age, all the other BS that was associated with it. And then on top of it, it was like a perfect storm. The BLM riots happened. The riots in Rochester and all over the nation happened. The defund the police rhetoric was starting to become the mantra of the crazy Dem left. And then what did you see? We predicted it was going to happen. Staffing nationally and recruitment nationally, specifically here in Rochester, we could talk about it because we know it's the lowest that it's been in recent history. I think the RPD, and I don't want to speak for them, but I know they're well over 100 officers down, which is a huge detriment to a police department the size of Rochester with the activity and the violence that goes on in the city of Rochester. It does the citizens of Rochester no service to have those types of numbers, right, David?
Yeah, so the listeners know, when I worked Genesee section, 3rd platoon, we had 4 car beats and we'd roll 5 or 6 guys, talking 100 officers down. Our whole platoon, when we were working, was 6 guys. That just shows you what 100 guys covers is tremendous. So when you're down 100, there's some holes in the wall, so to speak.
Yeah, and just to rewind a little bit, David, you and I know, I hate talking like this because it sounds like we're big timing people that have to do these types of investigations. We're definitely not. But, you and I focused on gun trafficking locally and throughout the nation. We focused on violent criminals, major dope dealers throughout our whole career. These types of crimes that the RPD is being forced to investigate literally are pain in the ass types of crimes because they affect so many people. And I'm not saying that they don't make a difference by any means. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm trying to say is these groups are not organized groups of individuals like you and I targeted in the drug and gun world, in the violence world. They're not organized. There's no hierarchy. The probably scope of their organization is them sitting around smoking a blunt, getting high and going, hey, you want to go hit some cars on Oxford or Park Ave area? That's the extent of their planning, David.
Yeah. I mean, these are just like the Kia boys. These are just kids trying to raise hell and cause mayhem because they can, because there's no rules. And it really hurts the police because you have police officers doing all these paperwork and producing all these, crime reports for the victims. There's nothing for the police to do. The police are completely unable to do anything with this. And the reason why is people voted for Democratic politicians who enacted this, who then took away any recourse the police have for making this stop. So it won't stop. It's not going to stop. No matter what the police do, it's going to continue until they decide, meaning the kids, the if you will, decide to stop. That's the only thing that's going to make it go away. There's nothing the police can do. Why? Because the politicians in Albany gave them a free pass and rolled out the red carpet and threw rose petals at their ass. And that's why we have this, because of them.
Yeah, speaking of which, the RPD put out a presser today. They say that they're going to team up with the New York State troopers, which is great because our trooper brothers are awesome, right? Just goes to show you, again, we have low numbers in the police department. They know it's not enough cops to do it on our own. But they're going to proactively go out there, target certain areas to prevent these incidents. But, like I sent to you in our notes, that's like trying to throw a deck chair off the Titanic. You are not going to stop it from sinking. All they're going to do is they're going to see the amount of uniformed guys out there. They're going to see the amount of patrols out there. It's like throwing a rock in the pond. It's just going to have them either A, move to another area, or B, take a couple days off. But this is not something that can be sustained. I appreciate the effort of Chief Smith and the guys trying to do something to help the citizens out. But like you said, it's not going to go away until we change these laws and vote these people out of office.
Even if you catch someone in the act of doing it and lock them up, it's an appearance ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not getting locked up. They can break into another car an hour later.
I know that we have a lot of listeners out there who follow things that we have said or educated them on in the last year since we've been live on this podcast. But basically what David's saying is with bail reform, with all these new laws that the Democrats implemented in 2020, there's only certain crimes that you can make a physical arrest. By physical arrest, David and I mean taking them, stopping them and preventing them from doing future crimes, handcuffing them, bringing them to jail, and then going in front of a judge, and then they have to post some type of bail to get out. It doesn't happen with bail reform. And all the liberal Democrats want to cry about, poor people can't afford bail, or poor people can't do this, and black people can't do this. And it's all BS. It's all BS because all it was a ruse to cater to the criminal element to get votes. And then all of a sudden, this is what you have right now, David, is chaos in our city.
Yeah. And, we're mentioning Democrats because they're in power and they did this. All right. If it was a Republican in power and the Republicans did it, I'd be hammering them the same way. All right. Stupidity is stupidity. All right. I'm hitting on stupidity. And if you want this to stop, what I recommend that people do is you call your Bronsteins, you call your Cooney or, those type of guys, you call them and bother them and hammer the fact that this is going on. That's how you get change. Okay. Because you're not going to get it on election day because there's not an election coming up. So hammer these guys. They need to be called to task on this. They're the problem. Democratic politicians in Monroe County and Rochester. End stop.
Yeah, it is definitely a full stop. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't want to see the fingers getting pointed toward Dave Smith. I don't want to see him getting pointed towards Malik Evans because I'm not defending them. But when you got a radical city council that's underneath you, every move that you try to make that's pro-police and proactive towards law enforcement, they do everything they could to undermine you. the Mary Lupians, the Stanley Martins, the rest of those radicals out there. They're no different than the radical, crazy, and I'll say crazy, extreme left-wing Democrats that are out there. So you can't blame the mayor. You can't blame the chief. They're being undermined by some of these radical city council people.
Again, I'll defend that. The police chief and the sheriff and the mayor, there's nothing they can do. All right. These laws are put out by politicians. The politicians have created this mess and they're stuck with it and they have no resources. There's nothing they can do.
Yep.
So
that's it. David, you got anything to add or you want me to just drop it?
Let's drop it.
Drop it. Folks, listen, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Crime Dawg podcast. Hit like and subscribe. If you can't get enough of David and I, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, you can listen to us on iHeartRadio every Saturday live from noon to 1, or you can go to the iHeart app or their website, and you could do the Google's search for Crime Dawg, that's DAWG, and listen to past episodes that we record. If you want to be a part of the live show, call in. Our producer, Pam, will plug you right through. You could ask us anything on our unscreened line. Folks, thanks for sticking with us. We hope that you come for future episodes. But like my brother-in-law, Frankie Grassi, says, if you can't make it, who cares?